Welcome to Inge's Knitting Lab Along. My name is Inge and I'm a keen and passionate knitter and knitting designer. And I'm so happy and thrilled in this episode to introduce to you my newest design, the Lacy Cable Tee. It has just been released on Ravelry in this mohair edition. I will put the link below. So in this episode, I will talk about the design and the tailoring options, showing you the models wearing the tee from size X small to 4XL. The pattern offers from X small to 5XL. And I will also talk a bit about my patterns and what you can expect from my written instructions. And in the end, we will talk about the knit-along tutorials to go along with the tee pattern here. If you like the video and like the design, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so that you can help me grow and share even more knitting tips and tricks, both my own and the ones of my testers. So the design, it has been very important to me to make a design that will fit any size and any body type. And I actually think that this European shoulder construction does the trick, because in the pattern you can part the upper body from the lower body and tailor it to fit exactly your body. Let's look at the first model here in the light blue tee. She's a size X small and her body type is the triangular shape. This means that her hips are slightly wider than her shoulders. And she has opted for the short sleeve with a puff. And this is actually a choice suiting very well her body type, because in this way we will draw with the puff sleeve attention to the shoulders and give the illusion that the shoulders are slightly wider than they are, giving the balance with her hips, and in this way promote the female look of the hourglass shape. And why do we talk so much, or why do I talk so much about the hourglass shape? I allude a lot more to it in my knitting podcast. It is because by nature these are the dimension of the female body. So we will try with the design to promote this illusion of the hourglass shaping in the female design. And a trick more to do that is to add the waist shaping, and she opted for this as well. She has a relatively long waistline, and again, when doing the decreases and creating this waist shaping, again it helps her give the illusion of the hourglass shape. But have a look at the pictures. What do you think? Does the trick work? I think she looks gorgeous, don't you think? Let's have a look at the next three models. They are all size small, however they have different body types. The first model here with the beige tee also has a triangular shape with wider hips than shoulders. So she has again opted for the puff sleeve, the short sleeve, and waist shaping. Let's also have a look at the back side of the tee. You see here the diagonal seam and providing the straight line down on the back. I have come to love it so much, this design. I think it really tailors a nice backside of your sweater. Now let's see the next size small model. However, she is an inverted triangle, meaning that her shoulders are wider than her hips. So as you can see, she opted for the short version here, short sleeve version, however no puff sleeve. And this makes sense when making the illusion of the hourglass shape, because you don't want to draw attention to your wider shoulders. Instead, you want to draw attention to your hips. And you can do this by again using the waist shaping and making a slight curve on the rim of your tee. I'm very content with the result. I think she looks gorgeous, and it is just refinement and optimization. I always, yeah, maybe it's a human error for me. I never settle with the result. I always keep seeing something new that I would do better the next time or different the next time. Let's have a look at the back side of this tee here. When you have wider shoulders, you want to play illusional tricks on how to make them seem less wide. And I again think that this European shoulder construction really does the trick for you, because as you can see, the diagonal makes it kind, and the straight line back gets the illusion of narrower shoulders. And when you look here at the front side, when you use a European shoulder with a set-in sleeve cut, so to speak, you can do it in many ways. I have also talked about this in my knitting podcast. I can link below. But when I make the cut here, it kind of moves in the shoulder, and the opposite would be to make it out here. Then you promote the illusion of a wider shoulder. So this will also help this model with inverted triangle with the shoulder piece to create harmony with the hips. Let's move on to the third size small model here. She has the dimension of an hourglass shape, so her shoulders and hips are exactly the same width or circumference, and then she have this profound hourglass shape. The trick here with this model is, or the tricky part I would say with this model, is that actually she is a size X small here on the upper body, also the lower body. However, her bust size requires more fabric here. And again, this European shoulder construction helps us, because I can just part it, make it as it fits her on the upper body, and then apply the bust shaping here, and the bust shaping along with the waist shaping will make the fabric go inwards. It's hard to explain. You will have to look at the knitting podcast where I show it as well. But maybe you know the feeling if you have a big bust and you try to get a large circumference, and the tee stands out here, and it makes you more kind of boxy, or it makes you seem wider than you are. When you have this kind of figure, it actually helps you after the bust to make this waist shaping. Or have a look. What do you think? I think she looks gorgeous, and we made the trick for her. And the hourglass shape can wear practically any thing she wants, and she opted for the puff sleeve and the short sleeve. Yeah, so that was size small. Let's move on to the next model here in the red sweater. Yeah, you guessed right, it is me, and the one I'm wearing here. So as you can see, I opted for long sleeves, and they don't go with puff sleeves. And this suits me very well because I am an inverted triangle, so I don't need attention to my shoulders, which have a lot of volume as is. And the V-neck also helps this body type. And actually the V-neck suits every body type. That's the reason why I chose this one instead of the round neck. You may also notice that the neckline looks a bit different on the model picture here and this I'm wearing right now. And you are quite right. Look at the stitch markers here, because since the testing was ongoing, I have been doing tweaks and twerks to refine the very small details of this design, and I thought this was going too wide on the shoulders, so I have brought it a bit more together here to get yeah, you can see the difference. And I've done that more places on the design since the testing. So if you have been a tester or seen the tester pictures and look at the finished design and see the differences, you're right. there are differences. And that's exactly the whole idea of testing. So what about waist shaping then? Yeah, well, first of all, I needed bust shaping because when I reach the fullest part of my bust, then I need some fabric in the front. So I added the bust shaping option. And then I opted off the waist shaping. And why did I do that? Yeah, well, maybe I share this with other women, but I kind of felt like, yeah, well, I have a bit of a muffin top, and if I have this waist shaping, it will be too narrow and you will see my muffin top even more and it won't suit me. But actually, when looking at myself in this sweater, I look more squared or boxy. This has made me think that when knitting up the next one, it's already on my needles, I will go up a size because I can fit, it will still fit my upper body. I can just provide more volume here on the lower body and then do the waist shaping without feeling squeezed here at my muffin top, and it will help me promote the body of the hourglass body shape. So this is what I will do. What more to say about the red one? Yeah, perhaps uh, maybe I share this with other women as well, that I have not so often used mohair in my own sweaters because I find mohair prickly. I'm not allergic, it just feels uncomfortable. But I've just figured out it is a matter of brand. Yeah, well, obvious maybe, but different brands of mohair provide different softness and prickliness. It's a matter of the number of loose fibers and so on. Again, I will talk more about it in a mohair review in my other channel. Let's just leave it be here that I enjoy this very much and I can wear it close to skin. I don't feel it prickly. So I enjoy it very much. But on a hot summer day, when if you are sweating, the prickliness, I guess, will be more felt. So yeah, I think that's how it is. But don't wear it in 30 degrees centigrade. That will definitely be too hot. But I will also release a pattern with a pure plant fiber yarn, but it will come later. Okay, enough about my size here. Let's move on to the last model. The last model here is wearing a size 4XL of this pattern in this lovely brown color. And actually she has knitted the sweater herself because she was also a tester. And look at her options. She opted for the long sleeve, which doesn't go with the puff. And she made the bust darts to level the front and back. And in order to provide room for the wider hips, she told me on tips and tricks on the I-cord band here, which I have included in the pattern. So she could actually do kind of the A-line shaping without doing increases, just by using the elasticity of the pattern and then making a very loose I-cord band. So that was very smart. She hasn't applied waist shaping, even though she have a very profound and lovely hourglass or waist here, but I guess she had the same feeling like me, you know, when you feel like you have this tummy and being tight and so on. But it's always easier to be wiser in hindsight, right? But with the circumference of this sweater and her size, I think she could have made it, but it looks equally good without, I would say. So let's look at the back side of her sweater. And again, you will see by this European shoulder design, I keep repeating myself because I'm simply in love with the design. Look how lovely it looks at her shoulder. I think she looks gorgeous with this design. I could talk about this for hours, and I will, at least for almost 1 hour, but you will have to go to my other channel. It's a knitting podcast, and here I will share in the upcoming episode the construction on how to grade and how to make all the small finesses that will actually be nice to know when you want to fit your sweater. So yeah, well, this was all about the photos of this design. I hoped you liked it, and that perhaps you will knit one yourself. So if you want to knit by yourself, let me just give you a few words on what you can expect from my knitting pattern and written instructions. Maybe, as I alluded to earlier, you will find this pattern a bit different from others you have seen, and it may be due to the fact that I'm not educated within the design industry or clothing industry. I'm an engineer, which brings me another perspective, and I've tried to bring in the good stuff from my education and how I was brought up in the pharma industry, so to speak. And one of the examples is the Japanese term POKA YOKE, which means how to avoid unexpected surprises, how to avoid mistakes. And I do this in the pattern in more ways. One of the ways are to add in color coding. So bring forward all your different colors or shapes of stitch markers, because for the different types of increases I use different colors so that you can distinguish where you are in the pattern and easily locate what to do, because they have different colors at the neckline, the sleeve increases, or body raglans, and so on. This is the principle. And another principle is that after each section, I will bring you a status on where you are. You don't need a measurement tape. You don't only need your pointing finger, so to speak, and your eyes. And we count in Lacy Cable vertical repeats and in stripes. It's easy, so that when you move on to the next section, you can rest assured that you have the correct amount of stitches on the needles. And this is nice, I find. What more of the stitch pattern? I guess, besides another principle of POKA YOKE is adding in pictures so that it will help the visual learner, also from the reading learner, so to speak, so that you can see what I mean. So I have illustrations and also pictures of the knitwear and so on. But of course it's a matter of balance, because you can write a whole book or you have to diminish the pattern at some point. And this is why the knitting tutorials come in handy. So I have made a lot of tutorials knitting this tee from top to bottom, where I share my tips and tricks and how to do it. So I hope, and I have aimed to make these tutorials to intrigue both the new beginner knitter but also an experienced knitter. So experienced knitters, you can fast forward to the things you know already, but maybe you would find surprises in some of the basic techniques here, because I try to do things sometimes in a bit of a different way, because I very much experiment on the finishing detail of the tee. So which would be examples? When you join the I-cord, how can you make the seam so that it is both seamless but also a no-feel seam? So if you draw your finger down here, you cannot feel the seam where you joined them together. How do you make the center of the V so that it has exactly the right tension and looks nice? How do you pick up stitches in a plant fiber yarn? Because this is a bit more tricky, and because there's always a bit more strain on the shoulder, it will leave you with holes. How can we avoid this? and so on and so on. So besides my own tips and tricks, I will share the tips and tricks of my testers, because I have been privileged with a team of nice testers sharing their tips and tricks and great experience on knitting. And well, I've added in their good ideas wherever I could, and again I will share it. So hopefully by this introductional video on the design you will choose to knit the sweater. I would be honored, and we can go along together, and you can watch these tutorials, send me emails, or just comment if you need help or you reach a roadblock. I would love to help. So hopefully see you in next episode, where we get familiar with how to do the stitch pattern. So Roger and over from Inge's Knitting Lab Along and Inge's Knitting Lab here. See you coming up. Bye bye.